Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. The Champions League is back, and if you thought Juventus and Spurs was great, look no further than Real Madrid against PSG. The kings of Europe, Real Madrid, two-time winners against PSG, the French champions who are looking to be European giants. PSG have spent a lot of money over the summer to be this great, and now it's time to prove their worth. Neymar against Ronaldo, Mbappe against Bale, Verratti against Toni Kroos. How can it get better than that? Who would win? How would they win? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, I'm going to break down PSG against Real Madrid. So Real Madrid, PSG, two super giants in Europe meeting so early in the Champions League. One is the champion, one is PSG, who are looking to become a European giant. Could this be the passing of the torch, not only for the team, but possibly for Ronaldo to Neymar? Such a big game, so many huge implications on the line. And when we get to the board, we got Real in the red, we got PSG in the blue. Real, the only big change for them was that Dani Carvajal was suspended, so Nacho moved to right back, but nonetheless, they played in a 4-4-2 diamond or 4-3-1-2. Benzema, Ronaldo up front, Isco behind them. Then they had Kroos and Modric ahead of Casemiro. PSG, Thiago Silva was dropped. Kimpembe came on for him at center back. And the only big other change was that Lo Celso started because Thiago Motta is still not fit, which means they were still more of a 4-3-3, but for most of the game they were predominantly a 4-5-1, where Cavani was up front, Neymar and Mbappe on the flanks, then Verratti and Rabiot ahead of Lo Celso. What was the big talking points in this game? When we look at it, the first one has to be the way that they pressed at the start. It was very frenetic. Real basically didn't want PSG playing out of the back and vice versa. So when we look at it, center backs pushed on, the shuttlers, the midfield shuttlers, and Kroos and Modric pressed the fullbacks to ensure that they couldn't play from the back. Then they had Isco pushing onto the deepest midfielder, whether it be Lo Celso, whether it be Verratti, he was pushing up onto them, and they didn't really have any passing options to play out of the back, and they struggled to settle in the opening parts of the game because the balls went out wide here. Marcelo was tied on Mbappe, and Nacho was tied on Neymar. That's kind of how the game started for them at the start, and then when we pushed these guys back, we look at the way that PSG pressed. It was a little bit less frenetic. They let Cavani chase the two center backs, and then they had press there, but PSG were more concerned about Kroos and Modric getting on the ball. So you'd have Rabiot push out to Kroos, and then you'd have Verratti push out, Rabiot would push out to Modric, he would push out to Kroos, and then they'd have Lo Celso kind of sit on Isco, but Isco sometimes would drop into these deeper areas to get on the ball to ensure that Real kind of push forward in that aspect. But when we look at it from another perspective, besides the press, because no team was able to sustain that pressure throughout the entire game, we have to look at the fact that, again, a Real Madrid big game in Europe, and Zidane's tactics weren't really on spot. They played more of a 4-4-2 diamond, 4-3-1-2, but that allowed so much space in this area for Neymar to get on the ball from start to finish of the game. And although he wasn't at his utmost best, he was still probably the most dangerous attacker in the PSG side because everything was going down the left, and that would force Marcelo to come out wide because they don't have a natural winger in that perspective. So he would have to come out wide to stop Yuri, but that didn't happen as often, and there were so many attacks. And the fact that Dani Carvajal wasn't there, Nacho isn't a right back, you would expect PSG to try and expose Nacho, and they did to a certain extent. You think about early on in the game where Verratti plays a ball behind and Neymar breaks free behind him, but the cross is cleared. Then you think about another situation where Neymar and Yuri combine. Yuri breaks free, the cross for Cavani into the box was right there for him. Instead, he overhits the cross, and that's played out wide. Neymar was targeted throughout the game. Yes, he kind of dived in a more theatrical way, but he was hit throughout the game every time he got on the ball. When you look at it, there were times where he cut in. There were two times where he cut in. One time he cut in on the center backs and slipped and fell. Then there was another chance where him and Yuri combined. He cut past three players. It was Modric, it was Casemiro, and it was Nacho. Pulls into the box, pokes a kind of tame effort to Cavani. A shot doesn't get off. But the main theme of the first half was that Neymar was really getting down the left, and that was key, and they didn't really have any option to stop him, and the system wasn't really working for them. However, to counter that, Real had a few chances in the first half. They weren't that great. They didn't create many chances in that in that aspect. The midfielders didn't really have control of the game. Benzema was quiet. Ronaldo was here and there, not really making much of an impact in open play. But the way they did it was that Isco was terrific in the sense that he was floating laterally, and you thought that he'd probably float out to the right, because if he floats out here, then they're going to need protection if Ronaldo moves out there, or Modric or Nacho pushes forward, and that pushed Neymar back. That didn't happen that often. Isco's best combinations were down the left when you think about it. There was a time where him and Marcelo combined on the counterattack, and Marcelo whips a super ball behind the high PSG line for Ronaldo to break free, but Areola made a big save. And then we think towards the end of the half where he combined with Isco, played it into Benzema. Benzema forces the same from Areola, which then leads eventually to the penalty shout. But when you think about Real's chances, a lot of it came down through Isco and Marcelo. Marcelo was arguably the best player on the field for Real Madrid in the sense that he kept Mbappe quiet, and then at the same time he was able to push forward, and Mbappe had no real answers for him. PSG did kind of drop back into a 4-5-1. Neymar didn't really have any defensive responsibilities because Nacho rarely got forward, and when he did, it was kind of like 1v1, or you could put Ronaldo against Yuri 1v1. But PSG's issues also were the fact that the inexperience in their center midfield position in Lo Celso and Yuri. You think about Lo Celso getting booked for a tame pass back. It goes into the feet of Isco, and it leads to a booking. You think about Yuri's poor pass into Ronaldo where he tried to find Lo Celso and Ronaldo fired a shot over the net. Then you think about Lo Celso giving up the penalty, a very weak penalty for him to give up. It was a penalty, but you should not be giving up a penalty at that level for something like that. And then that's what happened there. And then when you look at PSG's goal, it was stemmed from the right, and it was rare because Mbappe fortunately got past Marcelo, then delivers a cross into the box. I think it was really great in the sense that what happened was Cavani pushes over, beats him, Neymar drags Nacho there, hits off Nacho, Rabiot was untracked by Modric, fires shot into the net, 1-0 PSG. They were fully worthy of the first goal. They were dominant for the first half. They were exceptional. Then you look at the second half, what's going to change, what's going to go different. Nothing really changed in that perspective. Real's press dipped. They dropped into more of a 4-4-2 without the ball, and they didn't really stop PSG for doing what they wanted to do. And you think about the chances that PSG got in the second half, a lot of it stemmed through Neymar cutting in from the left, creating a chance. There was one where he played it into Mbappe. Mbappe forced a save from Navas. It was a big save. There's another time where Neymar just cruised through the left, played it into Alves. He played it a bit too late. The cross came back. It was cleared. They saw Neymar and Yuri combine again, and Yuri delivered a cross through the box that should have been directed home by someone, but it evaded everyone. At that point, I think Unai Emery was okay with the result. He made a very surprising change by bringing on Meunier, taking off Cavani, pushing Mbappe to the up front. Neymar was still on the left. He pushed Dani Alves forward. He kept Meunier there. That was probably to try and defend the fact that Marcelo was a threat out from the left, trying to push him back and trying to ensure that he couldn't get past two defenders. That kind of didn't really work out to the favor because Neymar and PSG were creating chances, but they weren't scoring them. They had control of the ball. Real weren't really looking like they were going to get back into the game. They took off Benzema. They brought on Bale. That didn't really change much. The key change in the second half came towards the end when they switched to more of a flat 4-4-2. They brought on Asensio to the left, Vasquez to the right. And what that did there was that it gave the fullback someone to deal with, and that's basically how the game broke down in a sense. Yes, PSG made errors. Kimpembe should have cleared his cross. Marquinhos and Areola were responsible for clearing the ball, and they didn't for the second goal. But you look at it, it's Asensio running at the marker, and that was key, delivering a cross into the box. And when you look at it from the initial stages, it's Bale dropping deep and clipping a ball behind him so Asensio could break in, and that was pivotal. The ball again gets cleared, Modric swings it back to Asensio, delivers a good cross into the box. Who's there at the right time? Reliable Ronaldo once again, 2-1. And then within seconds later, great combination between Modric, between Asensio, and between Cruz. They break down the left with a great passing move, another pullback, and it had to be Marcelo Marcelo, breaking into the box. Rabiot doesn't track him, fires a shot past Areola, and before you know it, when it looked like Madrid were down and out once again, they end up winning the game 3-1. Yes, PSG have that away goal, but based on the performance, based on that they went there and were comfortable, they will be disappointed and they will need a result because now all the pressure is on them. They spent all this money in the summer and they need to get the job done. Whereas for Real, Zidane got his tactics wrong again. They were naive, fortunate not to be down, but they dug it out. They were resilient and they took their chances after a really important tactical change from Zidane. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.